ones. Now we have twos. I mean, this changes everything if you understand numerology. And I think it's mainly because of that a huge consciousness shift is coming. Not 2012 is some kind of scam. When the media gets behind it, you know, I mean, you know about this, Ed. When the media gets behind it that bad, you got to be really questioning things. So I think it's they're trying to, like, they know the consciousness shift is coming too, and so I think they want to, you know, sort of tell us what it's going to be like first, and they're going to give us a false view of it, so it's some dumbed down version of it or something, and they can control us. You know, I made all those videos in late May about Maitreya and so forth, which are about that. But I'm going to do something here real quick. Did you have anything to say real quick, Ed? Or,
well, I just wanted to say what you're saying about the consciousness shift. Yeah, 2012 is total Illuminati. If anything happens on that, it's going to be an Illuminati false flag. That's what I've come to the conclusion because it's so mainstream. But I just want to say something real quick. You were interviewing that guy, I think, from Switzerland.
Yeah, Stefan. Mm-hmm.
Stefan, and you guys were just talking about the positivity. And, you know, actually, Jeff, you were really positive in that broadcast, and it's kind of strange because that's how I was feeling, too, with people, with all the comments I've been getting. And, you know, it's not as completely bleak and dark and negative as it can sometimes feel when you study this stuff, man. I really do think people are, as cliche as it sounds, but I mean, you know, waking up, you know, seeing things in a new light, and people are becoming, you know, at least they have that spark of curiosity. Maybe, you know, as long as you have that, you know, eventually I'm hopeful most people will find, you know, the ultimate truth. And yeah, I don't think it's all bleak and negative, and I do see this definite consciousness shift, and I think that's why they've been pushing, you know, vaccines and TV, and the culture just gets, the mainstream music just gets more dumbed down, more materialistic, more nihilistic. I think maybe they might have known about it and were worried about it, and that's why they just heightened, you know, the dumbing down and the despiritualization. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, exactly. They're actually, if you actually look at things really, really empirically, carefully, there's so many more positive things going on than negative. It's absolutely staggering. Codex Alimentarius didn't even get implemented, not even close. Okay, I mean, they didn't even get it. It did in Europe and certain countries. It got some traction, but here in America, not even close. Now that some people can say, "Oh, that's because it's coming," and maybe, but that's just one thing. I mean, there's so many. I mean, the camps aren't being used. The internet's going crazy. Conspiracy culture is growing and growing and growing. People are buying more guns. I could go on with a list like this for 3 hours. There's so many positive things going on, and we can't get bogged down and think, "Oh my gosh, they have concentration camps, and I'm scared." Okay, that's the wrong thing to do. What you need to think is, "Oh my gosh, they have concentration camp. How stupid and funny is that? I'm not going." Okay, and nobody else is either. Yeah, I mean, we got to have a total perception shift, and when we control this place, like we're going to discuss on your show tomorrow when we discuss corporatism. But let me do something here I've not ever done before, and I'm going to start doing this more and more. I'm going to give a very quick 30-second advertisement here for, this is a free ad. First time in the history of radio, maybe. It's completely free, and you can verify this with, if you are skeptical and want to attack the Antimatter radio show and say this is a lie, you can verify this with the person I'm about to advertise. It's the Soil Cube. It's soilcube.com, soilcube.com. And this is actually he's a person that's been a guest on the Antimatter radio show before, owns this company. And what it is basically is a Soil Cube is a simple tool that makes blocks of soil good for starting seedlings in the garden. And if any of you farm like I do, this is a massive issue when you're starting, if you're in a cold region or something, especially, and you want to start the seedlings a couple months earlier. It's hard to find a really good system to do it. The ice cube trays and stuff don't work. So this soilcube.com, they sent me one, and I'm going to be using it in the spring, and it appears to be quite an amazing product. And go check it out if you're interested in doing exactly what we've been saying on this show, Ed. Getting your freedom. You want to pay for drug food, radiated food. You go to the health store and they have Adwala. Oh yeah, that's real healthy. I think that isn't that radiated. It's called flash pasteurization on. I'm not sure what that means, but I bet if I looked it up, it's not good. Probably means radiation or something. And that's in the health store. Okay.
I'll tell you what healthy food
is. Healthy food is the soilcube.com. Or it's just called www.soilcube.com. Growing your own. That's what I do, and I'm finding more and more time to do it. My whole backyard is just filled with crops all over the place right now. So I'll tell more about it in a future show, but Go check it out at that website. You will not find a more patriotic, small company than a 9/11 Truther owns than Soil Cube. That's Clayton. You know him, Ed. He was a guest on the show back in March.
Yep.
So anyway, that's
show.
a free ad for that. And sorry, Clayton, I didn't mention it at the beginning of the show. I will remember to next time. So anyway, what were we talking about, Ed?
The consciousness shift.
Oh yeah, right. And that's, I mean, I think there's a couple Antimatter radio listeners that have said, Jeff, you really need to focus on the positivity. And I think I noted this not because they said that. I think it was more of a synchronicity. They said that at the same time. They barraged me with emails. They said that at the same time that I was kind of realizing it as well. So it's like a synchronistic experience. Yep. And it is truly staggering. I mean, if you think about it, really none of the New World Order plans have been implemented. They've got a couple of their wars. Okay, but what's new? Haven't they done that all along? Yeah, they got some bills passed, and yeah, they're trying to do this and that, and they've got they're making people a little bit more impoverished here in America, and it's accelerated in other places like Eastern Europe and so forth. But in general, 99% of their plans are not going well, and you got to wonder why that is. Is that because they're tricking us? Is that because they've failed? Is that because there's a shift in consciousness based on numerology, as I've been discussing here, then they can't really do anything about it because there's a greater force, the energies of the cosmos just do not permit them anymore to have the kind of control they used to. You wonder what it is, but something is interesting. Ed, when you think about it, there's so many plans they have that are like an Operation Northwoods just on the shelf, or 95% of it is on the shelf, that you almost got to think that we're victorious. Let's just go into the future totally free, like American Indians going into the forest with the wolves and deer and stuff. I mean, that's the attitude we have to have. I mean, forget all this fear and everything. I mean, let's get our guns and our families and our books and our prayers and meditation and the whole deal and just live our lives. You know what I mean?
No, that's totally the right attitude to have. As far as their plans, like, for example, the North American Union, I think they totally underestimated the resistance they would have from that. So that just shows resistance is far from futile. In fact, resistance is key. And I think the only way they're going to get a lot of this stuff passed is by bringing countries down to their knees, as far as economically, through violence, mass violence. So this all ties into being, self-sufficient and having it so, because if they can totally destroy the economy, and I know this is a pretty common theory, but this is the only way I could see them, people totally giving up their rights, totally giving up everything, is if they totally bring the average citizen down to their knees and make them beg. That's the only way that they're going to get the stuff passed. So that's why it's so important to be prepared for hard times and things. And the Soil Cube, I went to the website, and this is awesome. This is the type of stuff we should be focusing on, is the basics, is food, water, and shelter. And as long as they can't make you a slave, they're not going to be able to do all these plans they have. So,
yeah, I mean, the Soil Cube is just a simple invention, really, and and looking at it, it basically creates a perfect root system for plants, where the plants just go crazy. And I mean, that actually is tough to get. I mean, if you farm like I have, which is not a ton, but I mean, I've been doing it for years and years now. Well, I mean, I'm 5 years hard into it now. And it's not as easy as you think, getting seedlings to go and then get them to take off in the garden. And so it's just that simple. You can have the free best food. I mean, so beyond just an advertisement for Clayton's product at soilcube.com, it's just a gesture of the ultimate protest. Forget all your marching in the streets and don't write the congressman. They don't care. They think you're a piece of scum trash. They're laughing at you. Oh, let's tell them the war is going to end, and then as soon as we get in office, we'll escalate the troops. They're telling you that crap again. Oh, Obama said, I mean, is this just not Vietnam all over? Ed, remember? I got like 900 thoughts on my mind all at once there. Remember Kissinger? He won the Nobel Prize for ending the Vietnam War, and the Vietnam War was still going on. Okay? Now, did the same thing not just happen with Obama, where and I'm not saying that as anyway, go watch my videos on Obama equals Osama, you'll know what I mean. But didn't they just do the same thing in saying, oh yeah, the Iraq war is finished, and how many troops they have there? They tell us 50,000. Okay, in other words, they just moved them over to a new war zone. But who knows what the number really is. And Bush did the same thing, reduced the troops for a while, and then they say, oh, the tax went up, and then they bring them back, you know.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, right. It's just all a big, huge lie. I mean, we're the nation that thinks the war is over when the troops are still there, and the peace prize is given to the person who ends the war that's still raging. I mean, what a complete... I mean, doesn't anybody get, you know, kind of antsy that you want your freedom back, and that you're... Not just that you're mad at that you've been lied to, more like, you know, I've wasted time in my life. You know, I want to make up now. I just want to go into hyperdrive. And, you know, I want to be... You know, like that American Indian shaman feeling the great omnipresent spirit everywhere. You know, better known as Yahweh, you know, or Nirvana. I mean, I just wonder why. Maybe I guess we just have to be drugged or something with our televisions that we can't feel this. And but I think, like I said, I think the time is coming, and I can just see it everywhere. There's so many changes going on just in the last 10 years. It's a different world. It's like we went to sleep, you know, during the transition point. In the late 90s and first half of the 2000s, I think now is, I think people are starting to finally wake up. And I have, again, issues in numerology which make me think that. So, any thoughts?
Well, yeah, and this kind of ties into, like you said, that there's almost, well, I mean, this is a whole huge topic, but I do want to just bring it up. There's like the two types of people, the people that stay asleep, stay watching movies, or the people you give them just a little bit of this information to make them change, and then they cling on to it, and they're like, man, this is what I was looking for. You know, they just see one clip with us talking, and then from then on, they're totally a changed person, just like me or you, where, you know, once you find out, like for me, I got David Icke's book and then discovered Alex Jones. You know, when people, you know, the term they use is waking up, but it's just like there's those two types of people, and it seems like the people who are catching on to this information and become obsessed with it like we do seems to be growing. And man, I've been so encouraged by the messages and comments I got from people. It was really amazing. After you know, the videos were put from davidike.com and prisonplanet.com, I got all sorts of messages and comments. The vast majority were very positive, only a few negative. So
yeah, people are dying for that info. You know, I mean, when people hear about, you were talking about dark ecstasy, and then info that Infowars.com and DavidIke.com picked up. And, you know, I read some of those comments too, and people are like, oh yeah, I've been looking for a way to describe how I felt about that. You know, yeah, the world is this euphoric theater for the Illuminati. And, you know, the Illuminati is not the bankers, okay? Now, I know a lot of people in conspiracy culture disagree with me on that, and that's totally cool. Let's disagree. That's great, okay? It's fun to disagree. But I'll just state my case. The Illuminati is, when we think of the term Illuminati, it's the magical masters, okay, is what we're referring to, the top sorcerers, okay? I can guarantee you that is not the CEO of, you know, Wells Fargo or something, okay? Those are just corporatists that are ruled by the real Illuminists, who are ultimately non-human entities. That's the take. I think I can verify that empirically. But it's just important to note that we need a whole paradigm shift, that also that we need to look at the top of the ladder as well, and just not think, you know, banksters actually can be converted to work on our side, really. I mean, corporatists are just grumpy old Freemasons or people or secret society members that can be easily swayed with, you know, the power of, you know, positive spirituality and Yahweh and so forth. So, but anyway, yeah, you've got a good point there about what you were saying. But what do you think? You wanted to say some things about guns, didn't you, Ed?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Guns are the ultimate symbol of freedom and empowerment in my mind. I actually, to be honest, I've known a lot of people who are Democrats and stuff, and I've met only a handful of anti-gun people. It's just it's so clear that whoever has the weapons has the power, so why would you want the people to be disarmed? And I'm going to go into a story. I told you about this, Jeff, but man, for those of you who think it's a good idea to be disarmed, I know, actually, I'm going to do a whole show on this topic, but I'm going to bring up the story now because...
Yeah, tell the story real carefully. This is a huge one.
Yeah. Okay, I worked with this woman from Vietnam, and she's old enough to where she lived in Vietnam when the Viet Cong took over. And her father owned a business and had a big, like a mansion, 4 stories. And apparently what I gathered from her, it was they made clothes. Basically, it was like a tailor shop type they produce clothes. So, and this just goes into so much of what the New World Order